This is the plaintiff, Maria Mwamba. She says she brought her car into the defendant's shop because it was shimmying and shaking, and he told her she needed a new alternator. She paid him and went on her way with her new alternator installed, but had the same problems. When she brought it back to the defendant, he agreed to a full refund and is now reneging on his promise. She's suing for $3,000, the amount she's owed. This is the defendant, Ahmed. He says he agreed to refund $200 to the plaintiff because she was a good customer. She kept the new alternator and is now suing him for $3,000 for wasting her time? Please, this woman's wasting his time. He's accused of performing unnecessary work.
All parties, please use your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says that she brought her shimmying and shaking car into the defendant's repair shop, but when she got the car back, it had the same problems that she had before she brought it in. Now, the defendant says the plaintiff needed a new alternator. He installed it and did nothing incorrectly. It's the case of shimmy, shake, and sue.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, Yana.
Ms. Mwamba, you are suing Mr. Ahmed's company for $3,000. You say they owe you for doing a faulty or unnecessary repair?
Correct.
Tell me about that.
Okay, so on March 21st, I had some issues with my car. I was driving, and like all of the signs came on the dashboard, and so I took it to his shop. It's right by my house.
Had you ever used them before?
No, I have not, actually.
So why did you pick them? Because they were close?
No, yeah, they were close. I just Googled it. So I brought the car there. Long story short, I believe his manager, he was the one that looked at my car. Immediately when he looked at it, he said, oh, it's the alternator. So me not knowing about cars, I said, okay, no problem. I just wanted the car to be fixed. So he said, all right, the total would be, I believe he said $620. I said, can you take $520? He said, no problem. I also have all the documents to show. So he was like, you can leave the car today, but you would have to give me a down payment of $200, and then tomorrow you give the balance of $320. I said, perfect, no problem. The next day I came to pick up the car. Everything was fine. I immediately drove to work, so I couldn't
When you turned on the car, the lights weren't on the dash?
Correct. Everything was fine when I drove the car off the lot. In fact, he was the one that actually dropped me back to my mother's house as a courtesy. So the next day I went to work, everything was fine, but now I was dropping my coworker home, and as I dropped her home and I pulled out of her driveway, my car immediately stopped. Like everything that happened the day before, it happened again.
Wait,
So,
I'm sorry, what had happened the day before?
So the day before, what happened was, as I was driving, my car would start to like shake a little bit, and then all of the signs from the car would come
all
on
the warning lights?
All of the warning lights
Okay,
would come
so
on the,
what happened this next day?
The same thing happened.
All of the warning lights went back on?
The same thing happened.
Okay.
So, but luckily, I was able to turn the car off for like 5-10 minutes, and I was able to drive it home because I was only like 10 minutes
When you
away.
turned it back on, were all the lights on?
When I turned it back on, no. It didn't. So I was able to go back home, but the same thing happened.
Did it shake on your way home?
Yes, it did. It was. So I was driving with my hazards on. I was driving very slowly.
But was the car shaking also?
A little bit, yeah, it was.
Okay.
But either way, the same thing happened from the day before happened the next day. But thankfully, I was able to drive the car home. So now the next morning, the same, as I turned the, that's the only thing, like when I would turn the car on, sometimes it would turn on, sometimes it wouldn't. So I brought it back to him. He wasn't there, but I showed, I believe his name was Ahmed. I believe that I showed the manager, and I said, hey, look, and I came with my mom. I said, the same thing that happened the day before, it happened again. He said, okay, I'm working on a few cars, leave it, and I will come back the next day. I'll come back later that day. Long story short, when I came back, he said, well, it looks like it wasn't the alternator. It looked like it was another issue, but he wasn't able to order the parts. So I can confirm that he said he'll give me the refund, but because I paid in increments of 2, he'll refund me in increments of 2. So I paid via Apple Pay. So then I, proceeded with the process. The refund printed for the $200, but I never received a receipt for the 320. So I believe the system was malfunctioning. So I said, is everything okay? He said, yeah, it went through, but because I was rushing for work, I didn't really pay no mind. The next day, I did receive the refund for the 200, but I never received the refund for the 320. So when I waited the 3 to 7 days.
Why would you get all of your money back if you have a new alternator? I understand.
No. He took the new one that he put in, and he put my old one back.
He took out the alternator that he had put in, and he had your bad the alternator taken out, lying around, and he.
Yes,
how long
he
did it take him to do that?
I'm not sure because I left the car there and I went to work, and I came back. He told me to come back.
When you left the car there, it was for him to figure out what was wrong.
Correct.
He didn't have a chance to talk to you. Came back to find out what was wrong, and what he tells you then is what? I took the liberty of switching alternators?
Correct. He said it looks like it wasn't the alternator, it was something else. So, and the only reason why because obviously I don't know about cars, so you can show me what an alternator is and I wouldn't even know. So when I went to the dealership, there was the one that actually printed out a summary in which I had that had nothing to do with the alternator.
What was wrong with your car?
I have the report to show. It was a whole bunch of things, but it wasn't the alternator.
Right. How much was that bill?
Okay, repair estimate. So here you go. It had nothing to do with the alternator. But when he looked at my car, and like I said...
hold on, I'm reading.
Sorry.
Cabin air filter replacement, engine air filter replacement. How did changing filters solve the problem you had?
Well, no, that was
They changed some tires and did an oil service.
So when you go to the dealership and you explain a problem, they usually run a report on everything that's wrong with your car. So when I explained to him what happened before, they just run an estimate on everything that's wrong with your car.
Did you pay this and have the repair done?
No, I only ended up doing like a few things on there. I really can't remember what, but I didn't do the whole thing. But when I explained to him the issue specifically about the car stopping and the mortgage, he said something about where I was getting my oil change.
So all you got was an oil change and change of the drive belt?
Yeah, I think I ended up doing the oil change and the drive belt. It was the drive belt specifically because he said where I was getting my oil changes. I believe that it was like an aftermarket, so that what was ruining my car. But that was the issue as to why my car.
What was an aftermarket?
The oil changes that I get from this place by my house. He said that the place that I was going to, it wasn't the product that they were using weren't good for my car.
The oil?
Yeah, that's what the dealership told me.
Okay, but what was wrong with the drive belt? What did they do? It just says drive belt, and then it has a price. I don't know what they did.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know about cars, so the terminology on that.
All right, let me hear from you, Mr. Ahmed. Did you work on her car?
No,
Okay.
I did not. My mechanic and my manager did take care
All
of
right,
her.
so what happened here?
The plaintiff said she brought her car into the defendant's shop for repair, and when she left, she had the same problem and is suing for $3,000 she says she's owed. But the defendant says he gave the plaintiff a $200 refund out of the goodness of his heart because she was a good customer, but that's all he's willing to do because she's driving around with a brand new alternator, for crying out loud. Let's listen.
She came in, like she said, for the service, and they diagnosed the problem and turned to be the alternator no good. So she left the car, I took her home.
How did they diagnose it was the alternator?
My mechanics, they have the tools and...
Do you have the computer check or no?
Yes, we do.
So are you you weren't there, but are you saying that they did a computer check? And
yes.
And that told them that the alternator...
The alternator no good.
All right, so what happens?
Like I said, she left the car and I took her home, and my shop, they did take care of it, and she came and took the car. And then the next day or the couple of days later, she came back she has an issue with the same problem. So we told her, okay, we're going to change another alternator for her. Maybe the alternator is no good. She said no, she doesn't want to change the alternator, and she just wants her money back.
Okay, but when did she say that? When she dropped it off for you to look at it?
The next time, yeah, the next time.
Right, when she picked it up, she said that? Or
it
when
was fine. No, the first time it was fine. The car was fine when
yes,
she
I know.
took it.
The second time, is it when she dropped off?
Yeah,
why is she dropping off the car if she wants her money back?
She came back with the issue with the car
Listen to my
again.
question. When does she tell you I want my money back? At the end of the day when she's picking up her car? The second time?
When she came right away. It's not. She came in and waited for it, for the car to diagnose.
So what did you guys diagnose the second time?
The second time with the same problem with the alternator. So we told her that we're going to take she's saying that the alternator with the same. We tell her, okay, we're going to try to
Wait,
take
I'm
the
sorry.
alternator.
So you hooked it up to a computer and it told you the same thing, or what? Or you just figured this alternator was bad?
It could be the alternator no good. We told her that, let's try, we'll put another alternator for her. Maybe it's going to be fine. She said no. She just want her old alternator back.
And did you put it back?
No, because that's a core. We send it back to the auto parts.
What does that mean?
Core is the old part. When you take it back, you get money back for that, like couple of.
Okay, so when you put in a new alternator,
Yes.
you give them the old alternator in exchange in order to pay less.
Yes, they deduct it from the price.
Okay.
So we send it. We tell her that we don't have the old alternator here.
So you never put her old alternator back in there?
No.
How long does it take to change an alternator?
It takes about maybe 2 hours.
Yeah, right. So the idea that they changed your alternator to the old alternator, that sounds a little unbelievable to me. And it's also not anything you happen to have mentioned when you filed your lawsuit originally. You never said they put in the old alternator. So what happens? What's the debate you have between what is the manager? I want to speak to the manager. Is the manager available to talk to me?
Yeah, available.
The manager?
Yes, he is.
Not the mechanic. I'm interested in the manager.
Sure, I have his number.
Okay, because that's the one who had the conversation, right?
Yes.
Why don't we get the manager on? He's not present. He's not physically here.
No, he's not physically.
Okay, can you call him on your phone?
Sure.
May I speak?
Yes,
I
you.
can confirm that the conversation in regards to the refund, he was not present, so I can confirm that he doesn't know that Ahmed.
Why do you think I'm trying to get the manager on the phone?
No, I was just going to say that I just want to let you know that he agreed to give me the full refund.
Yeah, I heard you the first time you said that. Now I'm going to hear what he has to say about it. Go ahead. Manager meaning. Go ahead.
Hello? Okay, I'm here in the court, and the judge, she would like to hear from you what happened. I'm going to put you in a speaker.
Do you want to bring me the phone? What do you want to
You
do?
want to speak? Yeah, I'll send you my phone.
Hold on.
Hello, what is your name?
I'm Jad.
Okay. All right. I just want to know what your discussion with Ms. Mwamba was when, on the second day, when she goes to pick up the car. What is the discussion you have with her?
As I remember when she came on March 22nd, that day she has complained, and it was a problem in the alternator. The alternator is not working, is not charging. And then we did the job that day.
How long does it take you to put in a new alternator?
Maybe 2 hours and a half, 3 hours.
Okay. How did you decide that it was the alternator?
My mechanic, he checked the car, he bought the tester. We have the tester, we have the machine, the computer, the scanner.
All right. So now on that second day, when she comes in and she says, I want my money back, what happens?
Yeah, she told me I want my money back, and I told her that day, I can't give you your money back because we did the job. We bought a new alternator. The alternator, the part, and the labor cost me money. And she told me, I told him if the old alternator is here, I can put the old alternator for you. But it's not here. It's gone to the company. They took the old one as a core to rebuild it.
What is the drive belt?
The belt is to let the alternator to charge the battery and everything. The other.
Okay. Had you put in a new drive belt or no?
No, I didn't think so.
So they changed the drive belt and it solves the problem?
Yes, I never had the problem again.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, here, give that back. Go ahead.
Judge, before God, he promised me a full refund, or else I would have not left that.
Okay, do you have any evidence of that? Because it sounded fishy to begin with. I got to be honest with you. Because if he promised you a full refund, why not just give you the full refund? What difference does it make?
Well,
why give you $200 and then not give you $320 because a machine magically breaks between the $200 and the $320? Oh, he said because I gave it to him until he has to give it to me. That's ridiculous.
No,
if he's going to give you a full refund, he just does one full refund. It makes no difference. He doesn't have to do it in two. Nothing you're saying makes sense. He put the old alternator back in. I know that didn't happen because they take the old alternator, they get $20 for it off of the new alternator. So I know that didn't happen. Plus, it takes 2 hours to put in an alternator. So I know that didn't happen. So I don't trust you.
So I made the.
So what are you going to say that's going to make me trust you?
Welcome back to the People's Court. The question, did the defendant do a good job or did he perform unnecessary work? Let's go back into the courtroom and find out.
I made payments in increments of 2.
So what?
He had to
So
refund
what?
me.
It's still, you know, 2 + 2 is still 4, right?
But my whole argument today is that he promised me a full
I don't
refund,
believe you.
And I did not
You know what
receive
I think happened? I think you said, give me $200 and I'll be happy. He gave you $200 and then you sued for the other $320. In fact, that's not true. You didn't then sue for the other $320. You sued for $3,000.
No,
because your time was wasted. Who's going to pay me for my wasted time? Anybody?
Ubers.
Verdict for the defendant.
Thank you. So the plaintiff doesn't get $3,000. She loses. In fact, she doesn't get anything. I don't think she's going to be very happy. Let's find out. Ms. Mwamba, what's your reaction to the judge's verdict?
It's just unfair because I know he promised me a full refund and he's lying, but it's okay. It doesn't even matter anymore.
You know, it's funny. You say it's okay, it doesn't matter anymore. Sure, it matters to you, doesn't it?
I mean, of course, because nonetheless, regardless of how much I sued him for, I still I'm still lost out of $320. But it's just the principle that he promised me a full refund, and I never received a full refund.
You couldn't prove it to the judge, so I'm sorry about that.
Unfortunately,
okay?
I couldn't because it was word to mouth. But
yep, you're right. That's right. All right, that'll do it for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So let's see what Ahmed has to say, because he doesn't have to pay any money to her. He's probably happy, I think.
Hello.
Ahmed, how do you feel about the outcome of this case?
I'm feeling
relieved.
Good. Yes, good.
You have many cases like this where people
not
sue
really.
you?
This is the. It could be. This is the second time in my experience with lawsuit on my place. Yeah. No.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen. Good for you.
Thank you.
You have prevailed, and congratulations.
No problem.
Okay?
Thanks.
Well, Doug, you can always go to small claims court if you're suing an auto repair shop, but many of these auto repair shops are licensed by the state. So you should find out if there's a licensing agency in your state, and you can call them or you can write them or email them, and they may have a mediation service that allows you to resolve the dispute, possibly short of going to court.
Does a landlord have the right to not renew your lease until my adult children leave, even though they're on the lease right now?
Yeah, the landlord has the right to not renew your lease because he doesn't like your face.
He says, well, I found out you're a Yankee fan, so...
Yeah, that's it. You're a Yankee fan, so we'll renew your lease. I mean, you have the right that you negotiated. The right you negotiated is that lease. Mm-hmm. You don't have the right to have that in perpetuity. You have exactly your lease.
Right.
So if the adult children are on there, he can't get them out while they're on the lease, unless they're breaking other rules of the lease or whatever. But apparently that's not the case. Just, if he doesn't want to renew you, he doesn't renew you.
Right, and this kind of brings back to that whole thing we've talked about a few times before, which is that relationship dynamic between landlord and tenant, and why it's important for both parties to make it a cordial or friendly kind of relationship, so that when something goes wrong on landlord's end, tenant understands. When something goes wrong on tenant's end, maybe the landlord understands, and there's a little more give and take. But it sounds like maybe this landlord has an issue with the
adult children.
Right. Who are staying there.
I mean, and it sounds like this tenant thinks she has a right to renew her residential lease, and you don't.
And it doesn't matter.
Both
doesn't
sides
matter
have
if
to
the
agree
whole
again.
neighborhood is on her lease. The entire block is on her lease.
It's the two parties have to renew it because they both want to,
And the landlord doesn't sound all that keen
No.
on doing it.